culture destroyed. And if we can absorb people that come here, and I was in the army during the Vietnam War, and I had some views about that at that time.
And the equation of migration is a bit more varied. One is, one chunk of migration is that people who are skilled migrants. So they come in, and that's probably one part of the share. And then one is refugee migration, and then one is student migration. So the student migration equation is run by the universities, and then the government supports the flourishing of universities through supporting them that easy pathways to student migration. Whereas people who are coming through skilled migration model will come and they already have the skills what Australia needs. And the question is, what skills you're wanting for. So that's done by public service, that what do you need. But that skilled migration piece is probably people who come in, would pay tax soon enough. Whereas the other two, one is a bit more humanitarian. So refugees more humanitarian grounds. We take targets, and on the student side, we're supporting universities to be financially viable, which is not the responsibility of the government.
I have a very sanguine view about universities. They are basically very much of the left, and they are continuing to turn out graduates who enter the workforce with very firm beliefs about the left, the politics of the left. Look, we desperately need mechanics, chippies, electricians, truck drivers, trades. We need those sorts of people. I would welcome them coming in here. But when you talk about refugee migration, what determines whether that refugee from Palestine or wherever they've come from will ever become an Australian? And if you see a virtue in bringing in 1,000, 5, 10, 20,000, why not bring 300,000 of them? Every one of them has a case. Their country is busted. And if you feel so soft-hearted that you want to help these people, then there's no limit to the number you should bring in. But most of all, we have a sovereign responsibility to every Australian to not see our culture destroyed. And if we can absorb people that come here, and I was in the army during the Vietnam War, and I had some views about that at that time. I was concerned about the boat people that were coming down here from Vietnam. What a wonderful addition to our economy and our culture the Vietnamese have been. So back then, I needed to learn some things that I've learned since then, that a certain amount of immigration can be a great thing for our economy and for our culture. But they didn't come here hating Australia. They didn't come here hating the values that we have. They didn't come here hating our religions and our political system. They came here because they wanted to become part of the fabric of Australia. And too many of the people, and you see this in the mosques and the imams up preaching their hate speech and what they see as the future, this is not Australian. And if I had the power, if I saw an imam preaching some of the stuff I have actually seen on video, I would march straight in there and say, you, on a plane, go away. We don't want you here influencing people, because there are a lot of Islamic people here that bring enormous value to our society. But if you've got this corrosive group of people sowing the seeds of what happened in Bondi in the minds of just a tiny proportion of the population, this is not going to come, it will not be a happy ending. And Bondi is a classic case of it not being a happy ending. This is not Australian, and we should have the courage to stand up and say, you don't want to be here, we're happy to see you go home. We'll even pay for the airfare, go home.
Do you think that kind of political will, in terms of understanding and deeper understanding of the radical elements across the society by the government and by the security agencies, and then taking action fairly quickly? And before, why do we have to wait for something bad has to occur? Why can't we stop it early?
Dev, I don't know how to completely answer that. But look, in the lead up to World War II, we were so unprepared. Our nation was unprepared. Great Britain was unprepared for the bleeding obvious. What was happening in Germany and what was happening in Japan, it was recorded, and there were people that were standing up and saying, this is about to turn bad. This really is. Winston Churchill, for years and years, said England needs to rearm. It needs to be prepared to protect itself. We got away with that by the skin of our teeth. We only just got away. Now, with the invasion of the Philippines and down into Guadalcanal by the Japanese, there was a force of American ships coming to try and stop the hordes of Japanese heading south, and this resulted in a huge number of American troops being disembarked in Queensland. It resulted in the Battle of the Coral Sea. But the Japanese were coming our way. There was no shadow of doubt whatsoever that the invasion forces were heading around New Guinea to take Port Moresby because they couldn't take it on the Kokoda.
Yeah.
They were coming. And we just got lucky that the Americans were there. And in Great Britain, with what the Germans tried to do, which was invade Great Britain, there were just a small band of Spitfire pilots, Hurricane pilots that fought in the Battle of Britain, and they saved England from invasion. And if it wasn't for that tiny band of pilots doing what they did in 1940, Great Britain would have been overrun by the Germans. We just got so lucky, and we didn't take the advice of those people that were saying what might happen. And so now we go to Enoch Powell and Pauline Hanson and others that are saying, if you don't take the right action now, this is going to get a whole lot worse. So for heaven's sake, let's do it now rather than wait until it gets a whole lot worse.